Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Next Door Netadmin. Good is sometimes a little bit of a stretch, but remember last week I was talking about planning and how important planning is in executing things correctly. Today I've got a bit of a story for you on what happens when planning doesn't take place. So, let's set the stage for you. We had a customer. 5 years ago, they said, you know what, we want all of our users to have administrator rights to their PCs. And being a good tech company, we went, that's really not such a great idea, guys. There's all these things that can happen. And they went, nope, we don't care. We want all of our users to have administrator rights so they can install all the updates that they need for their line of business software. And that's the end of it. Okay, we did that. We set up a group policy. I set up a group policy. I got a group, put it in the group policy, said make this group a member of the administrators group, deploy it to every machine, and then I'll take all of the users in the company and put them in this group, including in a template so that every new user will be automatically a part of this everybody in the company group. And that way I can add everybody to administrators. Okay, fine. And for the last 5 years, that's been hunky-dory. Every time they're like, oh, we want to make sure that so-and-so can insure software, they can. Everybody's a member of administrators. It's your own policy. Against our recommendation, but it's your policy. This year, we got a request that said, hey, we've got this pop-up from software saying it's running elevated and it's not supported to run it elevated. We went, yeah, that's because of your policy that says everybody wants to be an administrator. And they went, we don't have any such policy. I'm like, yeah, you do. And they're like, no, I've never asked for this. Well, I mean, you only joined that company in the last couple of years, and this was implemented 5 years ago. So you may not have been the one to institute the policy, but there definitely was a policy. Okay, well, it would be ideal for us to have this message go away. Okay, well, I hear what's ideal. That's not a request. You know, this was an explicitly instituted policy that we recommended against, but you went ahead with it anyway. I'd like to have something a little more formal than it would be ideal. Well, it's our expectation that blah, 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 blah. That's still not a request. You've said what's ideal. You've said this is your expectation, but expectations change dramatically. And what you expect in your own mind may or may not be how I interpret an expectation. We've had problems with this customer claiming that they never asked for this and that and the other thing, even when they did. So I'm going, hey, I want an actual request in writing. They never gave me that request. They let it sit for another couple of months. Well, in the intervening time, my company and theirs decided to part ways. This is a thing that happens. And this request was the last one that we had outstanding. And it was just make it go away. It's okay. I mean, I'm going to continue to tell the customer, I still don't have an actual request. We would not normally just go based on an ideal and an expectation, but fine. I will reverse the policy and say, take this group that has all users in the company and remove it from the administrators group. That doesn't affect anything else in the administrators group. It's just take this one group, remove it from administrators. Okay. And consequently, they gave me a great big negative review about all the things that they don't like. Fine. But then things started to go wrong from there. It's one of those things where if it had been an actual request, clearly stated, planning could have been done to avoid the issues. So what happened? Well, first of all, everybody's been removed from administrators. Fine, it's just this one group, so things like domain admins and etc. will stay in there. It's not like we lost the ability to administer the computers. But it had everybody in there. Guess what? Now the owners of the company are getting prompted for all of, hey, you can only do this if you're an administrator. The owners of the company don't like getting prompted like that. They're like, I'm the owner. I should be able to do everything. Now you can't. That's going to blow up relatively quickly. The manager who submitted this expectation, he's like, well, I should be able to install software, but I can't install anything. Yeah? Everybody got removed from administrators. His expectation was because he was a manager, his access should be unaffected. And if we had a proper request with the conditions of regular users should not have admin access, owners should still be able to do everything that they need to do, this manager should be able to administer the machines. There are other groups. We could have added a group for the manager and the owners of the company to keep them in administrators while removing everybody else. That was feasible, but it wasn't requested, and therefore it wasn't planned. And then they're like, well, and nobody can log into their workstations anymore remotely. Guess what? If you're in administrators, you have the ability to log into your computer remotely. And because everybody was an administrator, why duplicate that group membership to put it into remote desktop users on every machine? First of all, nobody thinks of that. It just works if everybody's in administrators. So when you remove everybody from administrators, nobody can log in remotely anymore. Again, there's a fix for this. It's take everybody and put them into the remote desktop users group, or figure out how you want to do that. That also was not requested. Therefore, it was never planned for, never considered. Of course, now at this point, from the customer's perspective, they submitted a request. I'm sitting there saying it's not good enough to just tell me an ideal or an expectation. I want an actual request. They're frustrated with that. They've already given me a negative review, so they know that that's out there. And then as the changes to the group policy start to kick in, everything starts to fail and break down. They immediately called my company back and ranted about how I had taken malicious action against them and deliberately broken their network. I did no such thing. And in a normal customer relationship, you would go, okay, so we rolled out a change. It's having some negative effects. Let's figure out how we fix it to get to the place that the customer actually wanted but didn't specify, and we would move forward with that. In this case, it was, oh my goodness, you're being so malicious and everything. Just put it back the way it was. Okay, it's easy enough to change. And what I did originally was change an add to a remove. Now I just go back in, change the remove back to an add. Okay, fine. But these are the kinds of things that happen without an actual plan. For all you net admins out there, or those who aspire to be net admins, something you'll probably be familiar with or that you will encounter down the road is the concept of change requests, where you actually have a formalized paper process to submit a change request for changing configuration. Somebody evaluates it, somebody else writes the commands, that gets evaluated and overseen before the change is actually made. It's a very formal process. It's there for a reason. It's not just to make paperwork. If you're in a small business environment, you're not going to go through the formal change request process every time. And if you have a customer where you've got a solid rapport and things are working, if they make a generic request and you implement it and it didn't work the way they wanted, there's probably going to be some give and take about, oh, okay, well, that didn't work out. How do we fix it now? Okay, well, let's do this. All right, cool. We got there. It caused, all of a couple hours of disruption, but minor. And part of that's because, learning experience, we didn't specify the change well enough. But in large corporate contexts, the change review process is not there just to get in your way. It's not there just to slow things down. It's there because that's how you catch a lot of the, oh, did we consider this? Did we consider that? How is this going to affect things? Is this what the customer actually wants? Is this what we want? Sort all of that out. But make sure you have a request in writing. Make sure that you try and work with your customers to figure out exactly what effects they would like to see and what they would not like to see. And if something goes wrong, of course, do your best to correct it as quickly as you can. Hopefully, you don't get customers accusing you of being a malicious network administrator, because that sucks. And, like I said, this is just a story about what happens if you don't have a plan, or what can happen if you don't have a plan. Learn from it happening to me, try not to let it happen to you, and work with it if it does. All right, so that's probably enough for now. But if you have any questions, any thoughts about things that you'd like to hear me talk about, things you'd like to see me demonstrate, or just things that aren't working well for you and you'd like to ask a question, I don't mind answering those either. Feel free to pop them all right down there in the comments section. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I am your next door net admin, and we will see you next time.